So this lecture is about Anaphora, Coreference resolution and discourse connectives. So till now we have seen how language is being analyzed through different levels, starting with their word level, syntactic level and semantic level, and also in the semantics we have seen distributional semantics, how the vectors representations are being used to understand the word and its context. So now we are moving on to the discourse processing. So discourse is another level in linguistic analysis to understand the language and also the data. Okay. Discourse refers to language beyond the individual sentences. It studies the sequence of sentences that form coherent conversation or text. So it's crucial for understanding natural languages in a broader context, either it's a paragraph or conversations. And discourse analysis helps in understanding relationship between sentences. It involves understanding language at a higher level than just sentence structure. So the importance of discourse in NLP is, it's a key for the tasks like machine translation, text summarization and dialogue system, because we are dealing with text which are not just one word, one sentences, or it's just complete document, right? So the complete coherence of the whole document need to be understood now. Now, understanding how sentences relate to each other is essential for creating coherent machine-generated text. Now, NLP systems need discourse awareness to handle tasks like Anaphora resolution, Coreference resolution and also conversational tracking. For example, in chatbots, discourse helps maintain conversational flow by referring back to the previous context. So, cohesion and coherence are critical aspects of discourse. Cohesion is nothing but it's a link the structure of sentences. It actually links the structure of sentences together using some kind of grammatical and lexical devices. Coherence, on the other hand, ensures the logical and meaningful flow of ideas. Cohesion is about how the text fits together structurally, while coherence is all about meaning. For example, I went to the store, then I bought some milk. Now, these two sentences are coherent because they are logically related. Now, this coherence comes because there is a information flow that we know that we can go to the store and we can buy from the store, right. So, this kind of coherence comes because of the discourse understanding across the languages now. Now, what is the difference between coherence and cohesion? Coherence refers to the overall clarity and logical flow of ideas in a text or a speech, but it's how well ideas connect at a deeper level, making the text more meaningful and understandable as a whole element. Cohesion, on the other hand, refers to the use of linguistic devices such as conjunction, pronouns, repetitions kind of thing that links sentences and paragraphs together at the surface level. So, coherence example, the weather is nice today, I'll go for a walk. So, the ideas are actually connected. The ideas are logically connected to make the sense more coherent information. So, there is a flow between the one sentence to another sentence. On the other hand, cohesion, as I said, it refers to use of some kind of lexical devices, something like John loves pizza, he eats it every day. Now, he is a pronoun which can be substituted for John. Similarly, it is a pronoun which can be substituted for pizza, right. So, now the sentence is cohesively there is a flow in the sentence because it uses the linguistic devices like pronoun in this case. Both coherence and cohesion are essential for effective communication in writing as well as speech. Now, how do we understand this coherence and cohesions in NLP? Cohesion, as I said, it's a linguistic device. We use the pronoun and conjunction so that we are linking the sentences at the surface level and ensuring that there is a smooth transition between ideas. Coherence ensures the overall flow of ideas that this idea is logical, it makes sense, so that we can allow the text to be more meaningful and understandable. In NLP, maintaining both coherence and cohesions are essential because we are trying to accurately understanding the language and also trying to generate it. So, to do this kind of task, there are three important things we need to understand. One is Anaphora, Coreference and Connectives. These three help in resolving pronouns and references. That's what Anaphora and Coreference does. And linking clauses and sentences logically, that's what coming through the connectives like because and therefore kind of information. And improving the machine generated text mimic more like a human like fluency. And let's take the example. John was tired because he had worked all day. The man decided to rest. Now you see, John is having a co-indexation. This is a subscript information, is co-indexed with he. Both are like referring to the same person, and also the man is also referring to the same person. So there is a chain of information that is being connected to each other. And there is a connective which makes sure that the coherent flow in the whole sentence is going on very well. So now he is the example of Anaphora because we are referring back to John. The man is an example of co-reference because we are referring to the same entity. Of course, he is also co-reference again in that context. And because it's a connective, because we are linking two clauses logically. There is a cause and there is an effect. So now Anaphora, according to Halliday and Hassan, refers to cohesion which points back to previous item. So Anaphora is a phenomena where we are trying to see the referring expression gets its interpretation from some referent in the whole discourse. So it occurs when a word or a phrase refers to another in the earlier in the discourse. Now can we like solve this issue? When we have multiple pronouns, can we easily identify this particular pronoun refers to this particular entity? So to solve this kind of task is done through Anaphora resolution. So Anaphora is a form of reference where the meaning of one expression depends on another. It typically involves pronouns that refer back to previously mentioned nouns. So now anaphors are the words or phrases that refers back. So pronouns like he, she, it are called as anaphors. And resolving this one is called Anaphora resolution. And antecedents are the earlier word or phrase to which the anaphor refers to. Now let's again take an example. Sita is a great singer. She won many awards. Now Sita is an antecedent because it's a referring back element, and she is an anaphor because it's a pronoun here. Now in NLP, resolving such kind of references helps us in understanding the context and maintaining the coherence. Tasks especially like automatic summarization, machine translation need to handle this anaphora correctly, because when we are cross-linguistically use the same information, let's say translating it in another language, this information should not be missed out. So antecedents and split antecedents are two different kinds. Antecedents, again, you know, there is a like antecedent, it has an anaphor. Let's say there are times where we have multiple antecedents for a single pronoun. For example, Edison and Tesla were both inventors. They were also greatest rivals. Now they refers to both the element. So this is called split antecedent, where the anaphoric expression, that means that number 2 refers to more than one antecedent. So there are a lot of challenges when we are working with especially anaphora resolution. It is not all the time one-to-one mapping. It can be one to multiple antecedent mapping. Now similarly, let us go for some more example. Lata came from a poor family, but she is very ambitious girl. Her ambition is to become an actor. Now in the example 1, the anaphor something like she and her, these things are referring expression and has the antecedent Lata, which is nothing but a referent. Similarly, though she won the tournament, Geeta is unhappy. Now you see here the referring expression comes initially and referent comes in the second position. So this kind of context we call it as cataphora. So the cataphora actually in this case antecedent occurs after the anaphora. So it is not an anaphore, sorry. Here in this case the antecedent occurs after the anaphore, resulting in cataphora, not anaphora. Okay, let's come back to the second process to understand the discourse, that is called coreference. Coreference elements occur when the anaphore refers to an antecedent and when both of them have the same referent in the real world. This act of picking up the same referent in the real world is called coreference. So when the same referent has a number of occurrences in the discourse, all the referents together form something called coreference chain. So consider the examples, something like a man named Lionel Gady went to the Port-au-Prince morgue in search of his brother Joseph, but was unable to find his body among the pieces of corpses that are left there. Okay. Now you could see there are lot of mentions that are co-indexed, falls under the coreference chain. Now a man named Lionel Gady is one entity, okay, referent, and he went into a place in search of his brother. He is nothing but the same, like the another person, that is Joseph. So Joseph and brother are same entities, right? His is referred to again the brother, and the piece of corpus that had left there actually refers to again the place, right? So there is some kind of co-indexation falls under the whole complete text. Now, coreference resolution occurs when two or more expression in a text refers to the same entity. It links different mentions of the same entity across sentences. So this is called coreference chain. So coreference chain is a sequence of references to the same entity. So it's very important in NLP tasks, something like text summarization, dialogue system and information extraction. So for example, Lata loves painting. She spends her weekends working on her art. Now you see she, her and all refer to a referent called Lata. Now Lata, she, her all refer to the same person. So we are trying to create a chain of information. So this resolving these references helps in understanding how all a chain of information refers to the same entity. So it is important because it captures the entity continuity across the sentences. So it's also important in NLP because it helps in summarization, translation and question answering. It also ensures that all the references in the same entity are linked so that we are avoiding the ambiguity. For example, in summarization, correctly resolving the coreference ensures that the summary refers to the same entity. And there are some challenges because when you have multiple entity and a lot of ambiguous, the resolution of this complexity is another problem. And now the difference between anaphora and coreference is anaphora always refers back to backward reference, right? So the pronouns referring to previous nouns. So as we see, Lata is an engineer, she loves coding. So now she and Lata are interconnected. Coreference is a more general, but it refers to any form of referring expression including names, pronouns and definite description. So here it creates the chain of information. So John loves pizza, the man eats it daily. And cataphora is another type of reference where the pronoun or the linguistic unit refers to something mentioned later in the sentence. So before he could speak, John fainted. So he occurs initially, then comes John. Okay. Now anaphora and coreference both are important because resolution of these anaphora and coreference properly in the text will help us to understand the coherence as well as the most importantly cohesion part. Okay. The third another important thing in the discourse analysis is identifying discourse connectives. So discourse connectives are connectives which are closed clause, non-inflectable word that semantically they denote a two-place relation where the entities being related can in text be expressed as clause. So, syntactically, connectives can be a subordinating or a coordinating conjunction or an adverbial or a kind of preposition. The words because, but, although, afterwards, whereas, all these things are a kind of connectives in English when they convey the coherent relation linking. When these two sentences are involved, we are trying to identify through this connective. For example, John decided to live in Hyderabad, but he refused to learn Telugu. Now, this but is a linkage which connects these two sentences. So, discourse connectives are either it can be a word or a phrase, but it links the complete clauses or the sentence. These connectives signal the type of relationship between clauses, such as it can be a cause or a contrast or a time. So, common example as we have seen, it can be a because, but, whereas, however, although, right. And John was late because his car was broken. Now, there is we know that there is a logical flow of these two information being connected with the coherent information. And there are type of discourse connectives. If you take, there are multiple types. Discourse connectives indicate different type of relation. It can be causal, because, therefore, or it can be a contrastive, but, however, although. It can be a temporal, something like before, after, while. It can be also additive, something like and, also, moreover. These connectives help establish a clear relationship between ideas in the text. So, it is crucial for tasks like summarization and translation. In NLP, the importance of discourse connectives are crucial because they create the text with a logical flow and meaning. So, systems like machine translation, text generation, because they need to generate like connectives appropriately, because it has to be understood in another language in a more fluent way. So, incorrect use of connectives of course can lead to confusing and misleading text. For example, he was tired, but he went to the gym. So, now but signals here a contrast. Now, discourse connectives in machine translation is used across the building machine translation systems, because it is a challenging task. So, NLP systems must handle different connective forms depending on the language. For example, but shows contrast in some languages, but other language may use another word, another structure to express the same but. So, correct translation of discourse connective is a key for maintaining coherence across languages. So, the available tree bank for discourse is PDTB. This is a Penn Discourse Treebank. It is a large resource annotated discourse relations and connectives. It annotates discourse relations, connectives and their arguments. And it helps the NLP system to recognize and generate the discourse relations. For example, if you are annotating the cause and effect relation in the market crashed because interest rates increased. So, there is a cause and there is an effect because of it, right. So, this is the cause and this is the effect information. Now, these informations are being identified in the tree bank using some kind of annotation. So, now this annotation will help us to know what is the argument, two arguments, and what is the relationship between these two arguments. So, PDTB is actually like offers this annotation in the Wall Street Journal using the Penn Treebank method. The two arguments are labeled as argument 1 and argument 2. So, argument 2 is syntactically linked to the connective in the same sentence, and argument is the other argument that may reside in the previous sentence. For example, drug makers shouldn't be able to duck liability because people couldn't identify precisely which identical drug was used. Now, there is something called because, right. So, now the cause or the reason are being identified with argument 1 with the connective with another argument as an argument 2. Similarly, these texts are being connected through different arguments with the connective in place. Now, discourse processing is essential for understanding language beyond individual sentences, because it ensures logical flow of text across across text. And coherence and cohesions are critical because we have to maintain the structural and logical flow in NLP task. Anaphora, coreference and connectives are key components because it helps in resolving the informations that are being already there and may show that it maintains the fluency in a language. So accurate anaphora and coreference resolution is crucial for many of the applications. And how these sentences are connected, it will help us in generating and interpreting the human-like understanding of the language when we are working with applications like chatbot, virtual assistant, and automated writing tools. So these are some of the references which we can go through to understand the discourse processing in more deeper way. And other than that, when we want to build like a tool, there are multiple ways of building this tool because it's again a sentence, complete sentence level and a paragraph level and a discourse level information is required. So the current technique, including the language models and transformers, are more effectively be used when building the discourse processing tools like anaphora resolution, coreference resolution, and connective identification. Thank you.